Hi, it's Paddy Hirsch at Marketplace. So, initial public offering or IPO, how does that work? Well, what I want to do is to reintroduce you to the three little pigs who by now have built a large hotel in the city. Very successful hotel, okay, it's making a lot of money. They're very, very pleased with it, these three little pigs. But it's not doing quite what they want because they want to get a bar in there, they want to get a restaurant, all the rest of it. Their brick house, they want to turn it into, so we call it the brick house hotel. They want to turn it into something a bit more fancy, but they haven't got any money. So they've got a couple of choices. They could borrow the money, but that doesn't really work for them. So they decide, well, why don't we sell shares in our business? So what they decide to do is they decide to say, well, let's choose a number and we'll sell half of those shares. So they say, let's divide this business into two, and we'll say that, you know, the whole thing is worth 1.2 million shares. So if we divide this into 600 shares, half of it, the shares go to us, so we get 200,000 each, and we'll sell the other half of the shares to the public. But they have no idea how to sell shares to the public, right? I mean, they don't know how to price those shares, and who's going to buy shares from a pig walking around going, buy a share in my hotel on the street? So they can't do it. They need help. And they get that help from an investment banker, Mr. Pig. Here he is. He's an exceptionally wealthy and competent investment banker, a bit of a grouch, but he really knows what he's doing. And he's particularly good because he's got lots and lots of contacts along Wall Street. All these banks and investment funds and pension funds, all these institutions who buy lots and lots of shares, buy and sell lots of shares all the time. The reason they go to him is because he knows who to talk to find out, to speak to on the phone, to find out how much you should charge for your shares and how many people are going to buy them. All right, so Mr. Pig, the investment banker, is going to be doing all the work here. So he says, okay, I'll take your 600,000 shares, I'll call around, and we'll set a date. A couple of days later, he calls back. He goes, I've called everybody, and I've realized I can sell your whole lot of your 600,000 shares. I can sell them on the 14th of February in an initial public offering, the first time they're going to be sold to the public, for $1 a share. Okay, how do you like that? $1 a share. And the pig's like, yeah, this is great. We're going to get $600,000. Fantastic. So the 14th of February comes, and it's the initial public offering day. And what happens is these 600,000 shares are transferred all the way to these investors for $1 a share. So these guys, the pigs, get $600,000, actually slightly less, because Mr. Pig is going to take a nice fat fee. Okay, so this is great. This is called the primary market, okay, because this is the first time, the IPO, this primary market, it's the first time that these shares have sold. But what about all the people who go to the hotel, know it's a popular place, find they can never get a reservation at the restaurant, and say, how can we get a piece of this action? How can we get a piece of this business? How can we buy a share? Because we're not getting it here, so how do we get it? The way we get it is by going to the exchange that these shares are traded on. Because as soon as these guys, the institutions, get these shares, they're going to want to sell them on in what's called the secondary market. Okay? So what they do is they take these $1 shares that they've got and they put them on the New York Stock Exchange, they list them on the exchange, and what they're hoping is that we're going to see this IPO pop where a $1 share goes all the way to $5 or higher, and of course they make their money many times over. What happens a lot of the time, of course, or certainly some of the time, is that the shares go the other way. They go through the floor, and instead of costing $1, they cost 50 cents. This is great news for these investors who are buying at 50 cents, but of course, it's not so good for these investors, and it's not so good for us a lot of the time because, once again, these are pension funds and investment funds who are buying shares on our behalf. So when a share does go down instead of going up, it leaves them, and a lot of the time us, very badly, needing a drink.